Yeah,
I stayed
it. Yes, it.
it. Okay.
Or yes.
Let me see. I want to. Okay. Um, the second,
The third, the last.
uh, the last. Okay. What the last teacher?
The last paragraph.
It was okay.
Yeah.
Um, it was now 5 o'clock, and Mrs. Wilson said it was time for the no, for her to come to home. She put on her hat, coat, and tell me.
No, no, I didn't say anything. It's just a delay.
Okay. And Mrs. Smith put the deed dummy into a shopping bag. Mrs. Wilson took the shopping bag and walked to the bus stop. She waited a long time for the bus, so she bought a newspaper. When the bus arrived, she got on the bus, sat down, and put the shopping bag on the floor beside her flat. She, ay, mi madre. She then, ay, ay, she then, she then began to read the newspaper. When the bus arrived at the her bus stop, she got off the bus and worked for about 2 minutes. Suddenly, she remembered they had left the shopping bag on the bus. And read that, teacher.
No, no. Honestly, you read
I
very well. Honestly, you read very well. You just had very little mistakes that I can correct. Very little. So, a round of applause. In this case, since we're in Christmas, so you have snow, snowflakes for you, right? We're in winter, so you have some snowflakes. Good, and a thumb up,
okay.
and also a thumb up. Good job. So, just very little words to correct. For example, the verb bury. You said bury once, then bury is bury. That's correct. That is enterrar. Also, here you said did, semi did. It's died, died. And you mispronounced the verb wait. So instead of waited, you said wait. You said she wait along, but it's waited or waited because wait ends in T. Can you see my screen?
Yes, teacher.
And you okay, very good. So now let's see who's next. Who's our next person, our next reader? And that person is going to be spinning the wheel, spinning the wheel. That's Myra. Good. Myra, you're up. Let me just put it down a little bit so you can see it. Can you see there?
I teacher.
Go ahead. You're very good at reading. Go ahead.
Okay, let me try teacher because I didn't have time to practice. the conversation, the history. Okay. Two sisters and the cat. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes,
Oh,
loud and clear.
Yes.
okay. Mrs. Wilson and Mrs. Smith are sisters. Mr. Wilson live in a house in Duncan, and Mrs. Smith live in a condominium in Victoria. One day, Mrs. Wilson visited her sister. When her sister answered the door, Mrs. Wilson saw tears in her eyes. "What's the matter?" she asked. Mrs. Smith sighed. "My cat Sammy died last night, and I have no place to bury him." She began to cry again. Mrs. Wilson was very sad because she knew her sister loved the cat very much. Suddenly Mrs. Wilson said, "I can bury your cat in my garden in Duncan, and you can come to visit him sometime." Mrs. Smith stopped crying, and the two sisters had tea together and a nice visit. It was now 5 o'clock, and Mrs. Wilson said it was time for her to go home. She put on her hat, coat, and gloves, and Mrs. Smith put the dead Sammy in, Mrs. Smith put the dead Sammy into a shopping bag. Mrs. Wilson took the shopping bag and walked to the bus stop. She waited a long time for the bus, so she bought a newspaper. When the bus arrived, she got on the bus, sat down, and put the shopping bag on the floor beside her feet. Beside her feet. She then began to read the newspaper. When the bus arrived at her bus stop, she got off the bus and walked for about 2 minutes. Suddenly, she remembered she had left the shopping bag on the bus. Oh my god, that's it.
What happened?
The final.
Okay, great, great. So, see you. Uh, one thing that one word for you to pronounce better is bus. You always say bus. It's not bus, it's bus. She got on the bus, got off the bus, not bus. And as I said, the verb bury is not bury, it's bury, right? This one here, Sammy died. My cat Sammy died last night, and I have no place to bury him. I have no place to bury him. Okay? So, and
Okay.
what else? Basically that. Most of the other words were well pronounced. So, la mayoría de las otras palabras estuvieron bien pronunciadas. So, muy pocos detalles a resaltar. That's just that one. Boss and bury. And let's see, there was something else, another verb, but I didn't catch it. I don't remember that one. Let's see who will be our next reader. Let's move quickly. And Kathy's, Astri, or Rainisa, who is gonna be? Great, we have a winner, and that's Kathy's. Ah, no, sorry, it's Astri. So let's give a snowflakes for Myra and also a thumb up. Well job. I mean, well done. Good job. Now let's go with Astrid. Astrid, you can read it either here on the screen or on the chat in your phone. Go ahead.
Okay. Two sisters and a cat. Miss Wilson and Miss Smith are sisters. Miss
That's
Wilson
those are
lives in a
that.
house in.
Excuse me. It's Mrs. That's Mrs.
Uh-huh.
Mrs.
Mrs.
Wilson and Mrs.
Okay.
Yes, because they're women.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Two sisters and a cat. Mrs. Wilson and Mrs. Smith are sisters. Mrs. Wilson lives in a house in Duncan and Mrs. Smith lives in a condominium in Victoria. One day, Mrs. Wilson visits her sister. When her sister answered the door, Mrs. Wilson saw tears in her eyes. What's the matter? What's the matter? She asked. She asked. Mrs. Smith said, my cat Sammy died last night and I have no place to bury him. She began to cry again. Mrs. Wilson was very sad because she knew her sister loved the cat very much. Suddenly, Mrs. Wilson said, I can bury your cat in my garden in Duncan, and you can come and visit him sometimes. Mrs. Smith stopped crying, and the two sisters had tea together and a nice visit. It was now 5 o'clock, and Mrs. Wilson said it was time for her to go home. She put on her hat, coat, and gloves, and Mrs. Smith put the dead Sammy into a shopping bag. Mrs. Wilson took the shopping bag and walked to the bus stop. She waited a long time for the bus, so she bought a newspaper. When the bus arrived, she got on the bus, sat down, and put the shopping bag on the floor beside her feet. She then began to read the newspaper. When the bus arrived at her bus stop, she got off the bus and walked for about 2 minutes. Suddenly, she remembered she had left the shopping bag on the bus. That's it, teacher.
Very good. Yes. Thank you for sharing and for reading. So, sorry. So snowflakes for you. Well done. And a thumb up. Good job. Well, let me just go back to some words again. Wait in past is waited or waited, right? Remember, wait, el verbo wait termina en T, right? En sonido T. So in past it sounds waited or waited. So she waited a long time for the bus. Right here. She waited a long time for the bus. And in your case, here again, in the verb visit, visited, Wilson visited her sister, visited, because visit ends in T. This question, it's what's the matter? not matter. It's matter, right? This word is pronounced like that. Matter. What's the matter? So, very well when you said she knew. Muy bien cuando dijo she knew, right? No es no, it's knew. So, very well in this part here. And what other thing can I take out from here? Oh, the pronunciation of the verb walk, right? El verbo walk, caminar. So, Astrid, la L te suena mucho. Tú dices walked. La L, si quieres, mejor no la pronuncies, right? Es walk, walked en pasado. So, la L te suena demasiado. Te suena walked. Esa L es prácticamente muda. Now, we have two more readers to read. And let's see who is going to be next. So, it's Katis or Renisa. Katis or Renisa. Who is going to be? Katis. Katis, you're the winner this time. Hello,
Em,
Katis. Here you go.
Ponga a Rainisa para yo leerla el lunes, porque mi teléfono, how do you say poseído? No
Possessed.
quiere, no quiere voltearse, entonces la letra está muy pequeña.
Oh, remember,
O es
recuerde que tiene que activar
sí,
how can I say that? Activó el que gira automáticamente.
sí, pero en otra cosa lo hace, lo gira, pero en la clase no.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, you can do it on Monday, no problem. Rainisa, then you
Ok,
go. Go ahead.
teacher,
Yes.
está en el grupo esa
Yeah.
lectura. Si puede enviarla en el grupo, así yo la leo o la
It is
copio,
in the
como
group.
sea. Y ok, ok.
Yes. It is in the group. So,
Thank you.
Rainisa, you're welcome. Rainisa, go ahead. Rainisa, are you there?
Two sisters on the cat. Mrs. Wilson and Mrs. Smith are sisters. Mr. Wilson lives in house in Duncan and Mr. Smith lives in condominium in Victoria. One day, Mr. Wilson visited her sister. When her sister answered the door, Mr. Mr. Wilson thought her in her age. What's the matter? She asked. Mr. Smith said, my cat said, Sammy did last night and I have no place to bury him. She began to cry again. Mr. Wilson was very sad because she knew her sister loved the cat very much. Um, to, to, then Mr. Wilson said, I can bury your cat in my garden in Duncan. You can come at Mr. Hyde sometimes. Mr. Smith stopped crying and the two sisters had the tea together on night visit. It was now 5 o'clock and Mr. Wilson said it, it was time for him to go home. She put on her hat, coat, and gloves, and Mr. Smith put the day same. Sammy into a shopping bag. Mr. Wilson took the shopping bag and walked to the bus stop. It wasn't a long time for the bus to she bought a newspaper. When the bus arrived, she got on the bus, sat down, and put the shopping bag on the floor beside her seat. She then began to read the newspaper. When the bus arrived at her bus stop, she got off the bus and walked for about 2 minutes. Suddenly she remembered she had left the shopping bag on the bus.
Okay, so we're about to finish. An applause for you. In this case, so snowflakes for you. And also thumb up. Very good. So, Rainisa, as I said to Mayra, is not bus, it's bus. Not bus, bus. Okay. Aquí, here, más arriba, tenemos otro verbo regular, que es el verbo walk. En pasado, walk. Suena walked, walked. Y dijiste walker las dos veces que se mencionó el verbo. Dijiste walked. It's walked. Number one, right? So, to continue, and you also, por aquí, well, remember, el verbo recordar, remember, bien, lo pronunciaste bien, remembered, pero para decir stopped, que es el verbo stop en pasado, I don't find it, you said stop it.